They're the main conclusions from a wide-ranging review of the laws which are liked and loathed in equal measure. Former High Court Judge Ian Callinan's report into the laws that attracted 1,800 submissions was handed to the government today. It calls for the 1:30 a.m. lockouts and 3 a.m. last drinks for live entertainment venues be extended to a 2 a.m. lockout and 3:30 a.m. last drinks for a 2-year trial period. However, campaigners against the reforms will be disappointed that venues with no live music will likely see the current restrictions remain in place. The report has also recommended the home delivery of alcohol be extended from 10 p.m. to midnight. Justice Minister Troy Grant has said he will consider the findings. The New South Wales Government introduced the so-called lockout laws in 2014 following the deaths of teenagers Thomas Kelly and Daniel Christie, who were fatally felled in a one-punch attacks. The controversial reforms, which have undoubtedly reduced assaults but have been blamed for decimating Sydney's nightlife, mandate venues in the CBD and nearby King's Cross to close by 3 a.m. with last entries at 1:30 a.m. Bottle shops statewide also currently have to be shutters down by 10 p.m. But, say campaigners, even if the government chooses to make changes to the lockouts, it could be too late for the neighborhoods most closely associated with the restrictions. King's Cross will never be the way it was before. Quote, Tyson Co., founder of the Keep Sydney Open campaign, told News.com, "Oh, but it's not too late for Sydney's nightlife. We can improve entertainment options in areas like Oxford Street and the CBD to coax people back into the city." Mr. Cal said well-run venues should be exempted from being forced to close at 3 a.m. and the 1:30 a.m. lockouts should be scrapped altogether. The 1:30 a.m. lockout causes the most damage and has the questionable impact on safety because when you kick people out on the street all at the same time, you can potentially get more trouble. In February, about 8,000 people gathered in Sydney's CBD to protest the laws. But the laws have been enthusiastically backed by Premier Mike Baird, who, in a Facebook missive penned earlier this year, was unapologetic, saying the reduction in violent assaults was reason enough to keep them in place. Some have suggested these laws are really about moralizing. They are right. These laws are about the moral obligation we have to protect innocent people from drunken violence, he wrote. Mr. Baird even said he was minded to ignore the review's findings if they suggested rolling back the laws. "It is going to take a lot for me to change my mind on a policy that is so clearly improving this city." However, not everyone in his cabinet has been singing from the same hymn sheet. In July, Justice Minister Troy Grant said last drinks was more effective than lockouts. If Callinan recommends pushing the lockouts back, I think it's something we absolutely should do. Already, the law has begun to fray around the edges, with pokey rooms able to trade later into the night, so long as alcohol isn't served, and live music venues exempted following a court case in August. Data from the New South Wales Government's Bureau of Crime Statistics and Research, BOCSAR, showed non-domestic related assaults in King's Cross have fallen 45% since the lockouts came into force and 20% in the rest of the CBD, which is also covered by the laws. The local St Vincent's Hospital has reported a drop in admissions relating from late-night violence, while research released in August by the Foundation for Alcohol Research and Education, FAIR, a staunch supporter of the lockouts, said claims about large numbers of businesses going bankrupt were wildly exaggerated. Foot traffic had only fallen after 1:30 a.m. and then by less than 20%. The alcohol industry has attempted to paint a picture of a city that's empty, businesses shuttered, employment prospects bleak, alcohol-related harm still unchecked. and spilling into adjoining neighborhoods. But the evidence to the contrary is overwhelming, said FARE Chief Executive Michael Thorne. The organization recommended expanding the current laws across New South Wales. However, anti-lockout campaigners aren't impressed by the numbers being bandied round. FARE's report was a complete work of fiction and misrepresented the impact on Sydney nightlife, said Mr. Coe, who claimed at least 20 venues had closed down since the law reforms came into force. Our streets weren't carnage. It was manageable. But instead of providing adequate services to manage nightlife, the government whacked a curfew on the city instead, and that was really disappointing. A reduction in assaults may have happened, say critics, but it was hardly surprising with a big closed sign hung above the city and people staying away in droves. A number of venues have directly cited reduced foot traffic as the reason why they closed, even including a distinctly alcohol-free newsagent on the gay strip of Oxford Street. In the City of Sydney's submission to the review, Lord Mayor Clover Moore said the situation in King's Cross had indeed been worsening, with the problem being a saturation of liquor licenses in a small area and reduced accountability. The state government's reaction, however, was wrong from the beginning, she said, and it should never have excluded the enormous Star City Casino. And exception so jarring it earned Premier Mike Baird the nickname Casino Mike. It was a sledgehammer when what we needed was a well-researched, evidence-based, flexible response using transport, planning, licensing and police, said Ms. Moore. The city has proposed a 12-month trial exempting well-run venues from the lockout, applying 3 a.m. last drinks only on a case-by-case basis and increasing train services throughout the night to entertainment precinct, as has happened in Melbourne. Minister Grant said the government will now consider the report and deliver its response before the end of the year.